Hello, everybody. This is MoveEasy Yoga with Via and Kathy as our student model today, and almost every other day, every other class day. Today is the 15th of December, 2020. We're going to start in the ordinary fashion, just lying on the floor with your knees bent, your feet on the floor, your arms beside your hips, palms up. Starting to watch your breath. Watch the breath that you came in with. If you want to, you can bring your knees together and take your feet a little wider. That will release your psoas. That's just an alternative bent knee position. Just breathing in and breathing out. I love my body loves me. Feel the floor coming up to support your back, body. Go ahead and bring your hands behind your head for vagus nerve reset. You can stack your hands or interlace them without moving anything but your eyeballs. With your eyes open or closed, shift your eyeballs to the right and wait for a sigh, swallow, yawn, or gulp. Come back to center. Shift your eyeballs to the left and wait again for a sigh, swallow, yawn, or gulp. Come back and repeat that sequence, right, left, 2 more times without my cueing. And finish up. Keep your hands where they are for head ramping. And this time, just press the base of your skull, the base of the back of your skull, into the floor, into your hands, the mat, the floor. When you do that, the back of your skull slides up the mat away from your shoulders, and stay there for a couple breaths, and then release and do it again. Release it and then press. Keep breathing. Do this at least once a day. Do a set of these at least once a day, and every hour if you're spending a lot of time on the computer or on your phone, your cell phone. We're going to move into breath work. We're going to do an extended exhale breath, but with a strap around the chest, the rib cage. So put a strap around your rib cage so that adds the resistance component to breath. I think you guys should all figure out some sort of a breathing belt, hopefully wider than a yoga strap, but that's what we've got right now. If you can find something, even an ace bandage, bind your rib cage and breathe into the binding. You will it's another way to start to build strength and mobility, resilience in your lungs and your diaphragm. So find a strap. If you can't don't have a strap, then that's okay. Just do it without. Extended exhale breath. Inhaling, count the length of your inhale, and then exhaling, and make the exhale longer than your inhale. The goal is to make your exhale twice as long as your inhale, but you might not reach that goal today. Inhaling, 1, 2, 3, and then exhaling, and make it longer than 3 or longer than your count. And just keep going, do about 3 more. And then come up onto your hands and knees. We're going to do a proning hypopressive. Yeah, I know some of you don't like this movement. You can do a modification. You can do some other hypopressive. I like proning because in the age of COVID, proning is a good position to know and practice. It allows you to fill up the bottom lobe of your lungs. That's actually where the congestion, any congestion we have, sits. So you can see that Kathy started on her hands and knees, got down on the floor with her elbows in a triangle in this case, elbows out and hands clasped. From here, 3 breaths. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, all the way out. Hold your breath out, no breath. 1, 2, 3, stay as long as you can. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We'll do it again. Wiggle if you want to, wiggle a little bit if you need to, and then come back to that shape. And 3 breaths. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, all the way out, no breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Whoops, come on out. One more count, one extra bonus count. Come on out. Come into a child's pose. Just drop your hips and rest. While you're here, or even if you haven't come out yet, say, go. So if you had COVID, or if someone you know has COVID, if they're not paying attention to their breath, they should be. And they could do this movement. You don't have to do the proning, the holding of the, the holding of the breath out. You could do this, the proning without that. We made it a hypopressive, but what you want to add is coughing. And that is going to start to, and the other thing, if you have a friend who's willing to get within 6 feet of you, you can, maybe someone in your bubble, well, maybe not. I'm not going to advise on this one, but the other thing, someone could pound your back across the upper, mid and upper back. So that also would help with congestion. Take a breath and go, and then just come up to seated, because I'm going to show you an acupressure point that also helps to clear the lungs that I found on the internet the other day with one of my favorite teachers, movement teachers. How am I going to do this? You're going to find a point at the bottom of your thumb. So with one thumb presses at the bottom of the other thumb, the thumb on the other hand, and you just press it. So it's not, so you're using your thumb. Let's see here. How can I say this? That might work. I'm holding onto my wrist, Kathy. I'm holding onto my wrist. Switch the direction of your hand on the wrist. No, the hand on the wrist. So switch the, yes. Now from there, use your thumb. There, like that. It's more like that, I think. So find this place, it hurts. You're going to find a place that hurts. And press into it, and then take some breaths. This is an acupressure point that actually opens up the lungs. Did you find it? How many people, well, like you can't tell. Can you find the just move around all the way around the bottom of the thumb pad, And it might be in farther than you went, or it might be out farther than you went. It might be up a little higher. See if you can find it. It hurts. There's a little achy breaky point.
Mhm.
I mean, it might not hurt a lot. Maybe you'll say that's not enough, but I can't find it.
Well, maybe.
Maybe there. Okay. So, and just stay here and breathe. And just know this is also a relaxing point. Oh, she found it. There you go. You know, persistence pays off sometimes. Okay, we can stop and you can play around with that and tell me how it goes. Or send, this is from, I think this guy's named Dr. Mendel. I'm not sure. Anyway, he mostly does movement stuff, but he found this point or knew about this point and he shared it. He also shared some tea that people with COVID or with congestion, lung congestion he thought should be drinking. Okay, now let's go. Let's start the sideline practice. So just lie on your side. This is a practice that I hope all of you, and we do it every month or so, 4 to 6 weeks or so. I hope that you will use it as your go-to. You know, what can I do? What shall I do? What would be easy? I'm still in bed. What can I do? Maybe this practice is pretty easy to remember and easy to do wherever you are. So Kathy's lying on her brick. The hips are stacked, the knees are stacked, the ankles are stacked, the shoulders are stacked, one on top of the other. The brick is there so that you can have a space for your bottom shoulders to stack directly underneath your top shoulder. You might need to make the brick higher or lower, depending on the space you need. So, yeah. So just feel into that, and then bring the first set is a triplet for shoulders, and then another triplet for shoulders, and then one for legs. So bring your top arm straight out in front of you, scapula, protraction, retraction. Move the scapula, which is the triangular bone behind your shoulder at your upper back. Move the scapula forward away from the spine. And because you've moved the scapula forward, the arm moves forward, but the arm does not initiate the movement. That's really important. And then just come on back, retract the scapula. And because you retracted the scapula, the arm moves. And keep going back and forth, but slow enough so that you can start to study what this feels like. This movement feels like it's a fundamental movement at the shoulder. And you ought to start to be able to feel that the movement is coming from the scapula. And then back you go is retraction, forward, away, scapula away from spine, scapula towards spine, protraction, retraction. Do it a couple more times. And the idea is to keep your shoulders stacked, not to move your shoulders. So you're not moving your torso. And then when you're done with that, go ahead and bring your arm up to the sky and then back to parallel. This is called sunrise, sunset. This is also lateral adduction of the arm. This is an arm bone movement. There might be a small scapular movement, but this is an arm bone movement. And this is also another one, another foundational functional movement at the glenohumeral joint. And do it slow, with awareness. There are people who have lost the ability to move the arm bone or the scapula because they're just using their hands and nothing else. You know, they're on a computer all day, but they only move their hands. They don't move the shoulder. And they're probably on their way to a frozen shoulder situation. After you've finished about 6 of those, then bring your arm straight up to the ceiling, and you can put the bottom hand on the front of the arm bone and then internally rotate the arm bone. So make the movement at the head of right where I broke my shoulder, at the head of the humerus. And in internal and external. Some people don't, this movement is not available to them. It will come back. So if you put your hand in a fist like Kathy does, it keeps you from, it helps you keep the movement out of the wrist and the elbow. Internal and external rotation. Just so you know, you can do this in almost anywhere, but we're doing it with the arm straight up toward the ceiling. You can do it at many angles. That's the first triplet. Go ahead and bring your arm down and rest it on your hip. We're going to do snow angels, technical snow angels. So resting and then externally rotating the top arm so the palm is facing the ceiling. Bring your arm up and over as close to your ear as you can get it. Some people will not be able to come as far as Kathy is demonstrating. And then when you arrive at your destination, change the position of your hand so it's facing forward. And then with your hand facing forward, come all the way back down to your hip. So you do a slightly different external rotation coming up than you do coming down. They're both an external rotations though. And try to think of what's happening at the glenohumeral joint. This is an arm, head of the arm bone movement. Well, the whole arm bone moves. Technical snow angels, I call them technical snow angels. Well, they're half, semi-snow angels, half of a body. Because of the technicality with the external rotation. And back you go. 2 more times, you guys. And then just bring your arm, the next one we're going to do is circles, shoulder circles. So take your arm behind you and then up over your head and in front of you and by your back by your hips. Keep going. This is an amazing, I love this movement. I love this. It feels good for one thing, but it also does a lot of, it juices this joint, juices the shoulder joint. Try to keep your torso from moving so that the only thing that's moving is the arm. This is called circumduction. Every direction of movement available to the arm bone happens in this movement. Two more. And switch directions. Try to keep the shoulders stacked and the torso still. If you ever want to do this movement and you don't have the room, you can bend your elbow and do a half shoulder. This is called shoulder clocks. You can do a half shoulder clock. It's not Probably not quite as good as the full shoulder clock, but it's better than nothing. For instance, if you were seated, like I am, you don't have room for the arm to go to the floor and be straight, so you bend your elbow. Do 2 more. And then we'll move to the last shoulder movement in this triplet, this set of 3. Bring your arm back by your hip. And then bend your elbow, keep your bent elbow tucked into your waist, and bring your arm back, forearm back, and rotate at the wrist. And then down. So when it's out in front of you, the arm is parallel, the palm is facing the floor, and then when you come back, it's facing your ear. And these are called flying pizzas, not because they look anything like a flying pizza on the floor when you're side lying, but they might resemble a flying pizza seated or standing. You should feel this in your scapula. This is a movement that builds strength in the scapula, in the rotator cuff muscles. And do 2 more. We're going to stay on this side and do 3 movements for the legs. So finish up with the flying pizza and then extend both legs, or at least the top one. So if you're unstable with both legs extended, bend the bottom knee slightly. Leg lifts, just leg lifts. You can droop your toe, come up. You want to keep the hips stacked. And if you start to feel this at the hip flexors along the groin, you've gone too far. You've made it into a hip flexor movement. This is a movement adductor, abductor. So the muscles on the inside and outside of the thigh. Just up and down you go. In honor of Jane Fonda. Although she might go up higher than I'm telling you to go. And do 2 more of those. Come back to center. Bring your leg forward and then bend and dorsiflex your foot and then bring it backward and plantar flex the foot. So dorsiflex, toes towards nose, plantar flex, toes pointing away from the nose. And if you want to, you can add a squeeze, a glute squeeze when you come back. So this is the backward movement is extension. Squeeze the glute, come forward, flexion. So you get a little footwork here because you've added some, and you also did a little glute work. And 2 more of those. And then go ahead and bend your knees again, both knees bent. Bring your knees a little bit towards your face. Keep your hips, knees, and ankles stacked and open your top knee up to the ceiling. But keep your feet together. So clams. This is a bent knee, lateral, or abduction, adduction. And you can add Kihara resistance to this pose by putting your hand on your thigh, on your knee, and then pressing into the knee. So now, once you've added resistance in the Kihara method, you're always moving. So the hand resists the movement of the knee resists the movement of the hand. You go back and forth. You should feel this big time in your glutes, actually, now that you've added resistance. And now stop that. Bring your top knee up. Oh, no, not up, straight out and up. The knees are still gonna bring the knee and the foot up. So there you are, so more like that. Bring it down so they're parallel to each other, on top of each other, but away from each other. There, whoops, up, more a little more. Now, from here, I want you to come up, go higher on your top leg, and now bring it down and internally rotate it. So let's see, we know it's the other direction, Kathy. There, it's more like that. Internally rotate and come up, and then do it again. There, internally rotating. If you have a hip replacement, you may not, some of you, you probably know who you are, will not want to do an internal rotation at the hip. There's one kind of hip replacement surgery where that is ill-advised. So don't do it. You can just keep doing what we were doing. This otherwise is you should feel a nice stretch across the glutes, or across the quads. And finish up and switch sides. Now, this side lying series is a full body workout. And we may have time to add a few more things, but feel comfortable that you've worked a lot of body parts when you're finished here. Go ahead and we'll start the first triplet for shoulders. And this is scapula, protraction, and retraction. So moving the scapula, nothing else. The arm is straight out in front of you. The scapula moves the arm. Scapula moves away from the spine, then it comes back and retreats, recoils, comes back towards the spine. The arm bone moves because of the scapula. Don't make the mistake of having the arm do this movement for you. It's the scapula. It's important, actually, that it be the scapula. And then stop that. Take your arm up to the ceiling and then back to parallel. And when you're doing this, when you're doing any of my movements, you're always breathing. So you're always, and then you're aware. So the last layer, the first is the movement, the second is breath, or vice versa, breath, movement, and then awareness. So you're always aware of the movement and the breath. So this is a slow yoga practice. The awareness slows you down and is a big benefit, actually, in terms of performance and rehab, functional movement. Do one more of these and keep your arm up. And now internal and external rotation at the head of the arm bone. Inhale, inhale. Internal as far as it can go, and then external as far as it can go. And some people, it'll be your range of motion may differ from another person. Couple more of those. And then you've completed your first triplet. These are easier to remember if you remember them in threes, I think, personally. Finish up, bring your arm down for technical snow angels. This time you're going to externally rotate as far as you can and then bring the arm up by the ear. By the time you get to the floor, it's palm facing the floor. But then bring it back again a little bit and then bring it down. So bring the internal, it's still an internal rotation, external rotation, but it's not quite as deep. So deep internal rotation on the way up. Chew. And then less deep on the way back. Keep going, become aware of the movement, the breath. What is happening? Think about what is happening at the glenohumeral joint. It's a shallow joint in the shoulder. And do two more of those. And when you're finished, prepare for shoulder circles, just starting with your arm beside your hip and then bring it down and back behind you. So very little cueing is necessary for shoulder circles because the arm can only circle in one way. And it has to switch a little bit. It has to make a little hitch as it comes and meets goes over the chromium, what's it called? The chromium pass. Keep your shoulders stacked, keep your torso still. This is just the arm, head of the arm bone moving in the glenohumeral joint in all of its available directions of motion. And then whenever you're ready, just switch the direction of the circle. And finish up. Bring your arm beside your hip, bend your elbow. Your forearm is parallel to the floor, palm down, and then you bring your forearm up and rotate your wrist. So flying pizza, you should feel this at the back of the shoulder, even though the activity is at the in front of the rib cage. This is probably a movement I won't be doing for a while with my right arm. Left arm's okay though. So if you can't feel the work that's happening in the back, slow it way down. When you get all the way to the back, slow down and a little more. See if you can take your arm back a little farther and feel the activity back there. And finish up, and we're going to do the leg triplets for the side lying practice. Straighten your legs, or your bottom leg can be slightly bent. And then droop your toes, droop your foot. This actually activates the side of the leg. And up and down you go. Leg lifts. Leg lifts with awareness. What muscles are you using? Hopefully the abductor, that muscle on the outside of the thigh, and the adductor, the muscle on the inside. And finish that. And come back to center, and then move your leg forward and back. When you move it forward, dorsiflex your foot, and when you move it back, plantar flex. Dorsiflex and plantar flex. If you want to, you can add a glute squeeze when you have on the end of your extension. So the extension is when your leg goes back. Squeeze, and the forward movement is flexion. So flexion and extension. And flexion and extension. Squeeze. A couple more times. And then when you're finished, bend your knees. Bring your knees a little closer to your face. We're going to do clams, leg clams. Keep your feet together and ankles, but the top knee moves away from the bottom knee. This is a really good way. This is good for your knees. This is a good exercise for bad knees. It's opening up and closing like a clam. So keep your hips stable and even, stacked. If you feel your top hip dropping behind you, you've gone too far. Now we're going to add resistance, Kiara method of resistance. Put your hand on your knee. You may want to bend your knee slightly closer to your face. And then as the knee comes up, The hand resists the upward movement of the knee. As the knee comes down, the downward movement, the downward knee is resisting the hand moving everything downward. So I didn't say that really well, but let's see here. You're always resisting and always moving in Kihara. And in this case, the top hand pulls the knee down, but the knee resists the movement. And when you're going up, the hand is resisting the upward movement. Always moving, always resisting. You should feel this. You should start feeling it in the glutes. Do a couple more of those. And stay there if you need to, if you can't internally rotate at the hip. Otherwise, bring your legs straight up and then drop the knee down to internally rotate the hip. This is a bent knee, side lying, bent knee, internal rotation of the hip. You should feel it. It's a good movement unless it's not, so listen to your own body. Okay. That's the end of the series. We still have some time, so come up to a floor-seated position. And we're going to do side bends and spine twists, just because I like to do them. There's, you always have choices at this point. What are my two favorite moves that I can do while I still have some time? So these are two of mine. So, and I think they're good for you. Take your right hand out along the floor. I'm going to be timing this. This is a bone building pose. Whoops, you're going to get more. There it is. So side bending, keep your hips on the floor, keep your sits bones on the floor. It's a C shape with your thoracic spine. And then bring your elbow forward for the last half of this timed pose. You're still working on the thoracic spine, but you're adding a stretch along the back of the armpit, latissimus dorsi. Big, important, often neglected muscle. Come on back and come on up. So two different movements to get up out of this and the other side. Slide down, arm over. So breathing, so you're in a C shape. Your hips are on the floor. And go ahead and bring your elbow forward. And bring your elbow up first, and then bring your torso up. Let's spine twist to the right. Go ahead and put your left hand on your right knee and sit up tall and rotate your torso towards the right. And once you've found and are maintaining a spine twist, a spinal rotation, then go ahead and add the bonus of a small side-to-side movement of the rib cage. If you can create more space and spaciousness in your rib cage, you actually impact your breathing. Slowly come back, switch sides. Put your right hand on your left knee. Bring your left arm behind you, spider fingers. Rotate the torso to the side, to the left. Find a spine twist. And once you've found it, maintain it. And then just a small slide, glide of the rib cage without involving the shoulders. We're going to come on back, unravel. We're going to close with a back bend. Take your pick at the wall or prone on the floor. So Kathy, let's demonstrate the one at the wall. I know some people have said they're uncomfortable with the back bend at the wall, although that might be changing actually. Let me know, but it's one of my favorites. Just standing with your back to the wall, arms come up and over. Your fingertips touch the wall or maybe your hand. So remember, the trick here is to keep the hips, knees, and ankles lined up. So if you find that you're thrusting your hips forward, that will take this back bend out of your upper back and into the lumbar. You don't want that actually. Another way you could tell that you might be doing that is if you actually feel any of this stretch in the lumbar. Then you've gone too far, and you need to modify your curve or focus the curve on the upper back. Come on back. Find your way onto the floor for Yoga Nidra. Remember that you want to be warm and comfortable. Warm and comfortable, lying on your back, knees bent or legs extended, or bent knees up on a chair or a sofa. Maybe you'll have a blanket over you. Maybe you'll have a small washcloth over your eyes. This actually helps relax the eyes back into the socket. We're going to start by paying attention to your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Watching the abdomen as it rises and falls. And then bring your awareness and your attention to the center of your eyebrows, center of your throat, right shoulder, elbow, wrist, right thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, right wrist, elbow, shoulder, center of your throat, left shoulder, elbow, wrist, left thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, left wrist, elbow, shoulder, center of your throat, spiritual heart center, right side of your chest, heart center, left side of your chest, heart center, navel center, center of your pelvis, right hip, knee, ankle, right big toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, right ankle, knee, hip, center of your pelvis, left hip, knee, ankle, left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, left ankle, knee, hip, center of your pelvis, navel center, heart center, center of your throat, center of your eyebrows. This completes the 61-point guided meditation. And just start to bring your attention back to the room and extend your legs. You can bring your arms overhead, stretch your body in both directions, trying to create a little bit of space, additional space between your rib cage and your pelvis. Stretch and stretch and stretch and wiggle your fingers and your toes and wiggle your, circle your wrists and your ankles, both directions. Hug your right knee into your chest and your left. And hug both knees into your chest and rock from side to side. And roll all the way over onto the floor with in a fetal position with your bottom arm for a pillow. And then just come on up using your top hand, press yourself up to seated. Find your favorite seated position. Unmute yourself. I'm going to take Kathy out of the spotlight, and everyone is in their little places with their tiles, their Zoom tiles, in a gallery view. I like this, the end of the class. Bring your hands into prayer pose. Just press really hard. So this is a little bit more shoulder work. You might even feel some of the shoulder work that we did earlier. Press, 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 press. Breathing. And then just go ahead and relax into a softer prayer pose. Lift your skull away from your shoulders, head ramping, like head ramping, so that you can roll the skull forward with keeping the spine straight. So spine stays straight, skull rolls over C1, cervical vertebra 1. Just dropping, bowing, noticing, acknowledging, honoring the light within each of us. Knowing that we're all one light, that we're in the season of light. We're going to close the class by saying to each other, Namaste.
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 Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Kathy.
you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. I went by fast.